Hey, Jeff.
Hey there, Bennett.
How we doing?
Doing all right. How are you?
Good. Thank you for helping my daughter yesterday.
Oh,
Appreciate it.
you're welcome. I got to have some, I'm looking forward to seeing the dog. I wanted to talk to her.
Yeah, absolutely. He's a cutie. You'll love him.
Okay.
Thanks again.
Is,
Jeffrey? Jeff,
hello there.
Lieb and I got front seats. We came early so we could get front seats.
Oh,
Just to
okay.
know that.
Where's the rabbi? I can't believe I just left Minion. I can't believe I got here before he did.
Yeah.
Jeff, that was very impressive.
Ah, Rabbi, there you are.
You made it on before me. You
Okay.
taught Mincha and Kaddish, and you were able to
This down.
rush home.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll get started in a little bit. How's everyone doing?
Excellent.
We're not going to have the camera on that. Where is our video?
So, Rabbi, is everybody learning about where we're going to have the different minyanim for the Chagim?
Yeah. Well, as you know, we sent out an email several days ago about
Right.
the minyanim in a different place, and we'll send a follow-up with more details. It's a Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur like never before.
Exactly. One for the books.
It's one for the books. That's right.
If nothing
And,
else. It'll be one that will be never forgotten.
it has definitely required all of us to be really adaptive and creative,
Right.
but it'll be good. All right, Jeff, if you're good, we can get started.
Absolutely.
All right, so hold on. Let me make sure people are muted.
No, I want to hear from them. They can talk.
But then it'll
Probably
be
more
hard
to say
for
than
them,
I have to say.
but then it'll be hard for them to hear you.
That's the point.
Okay, so good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for Beth Jacobs Got Talent, which is a new series showcasing the life stories and unique perspectives and talents of our Beth Jacob members. And tonight we have the opportunity, and I should say, I just hope everyone is doing well, managing as best as possible. Great to see you. Thank you so much for tuning in and joining us with our Beth Jacob program. Tonight we have the privilege and the pleasure to hear the story and the perspectives of Jeff Werber. Jeff is a vet to the stars. Jeff is an Emmy Award-winning, nationally renowned veterinarian and former president of the Association of Veterinary Communicators. He is a frequent contributor to CNN, KCBS, KTLA, E! Entertainment, Inside Edition, and he won an Emmy for his work with CBS for pet health reporting. So we're very proud of Jeff. He's also the immediate past president and been very active in the men's club, the Kiddush club, with everything relating to Beth Jacob. And he's happens also to be a Baal Tokea, a Baal Koreh, and a great guy. So, and he knows half the world, and he's related, I think, to the other half.
That's right.
So Jeff is a vet to the stars, an amazing guy. We're so blessed to have Jeff and Mara in our community, and we're so thankful for everything they do for the shul. And it's a pleasure now to turn it over to Jeff to take it away.
So tell me, Rabbi, what do you want me, any like burning questions about how I do, what I do, ask away.
Well, I don't know if we want to put you on the spot, or maybe why don't you share what's on your mind? Share, share. Huh?
One of the things that, when I was talking to Rabbi Posey, and it's interesting how, here I am coming from a family where my dad was an actor. We moved to California back in 1962 because my dad was acting, and my little sister dabbled in it. You come to California and obviously wants to get into Hollywood, and here's my brother is in entertainment. He's a producer. It's like, and here I was, since I'm 5 years old, all I wanted to do was be a vet. And it's interesting in veterinary medicine, it's one of those professions where it's often not a choice, it's a calling. I'd say the majority of veterinarians that I meet and talk to, they knew they wanted to be a veterinarian since they were little kids. And my parents say since I was 5. That's all I talked about. How do you know when you're 5 years old, what are you gonna do with your life? It's the weirdest thing. So here I was, was gonna be the vet and became the veterinarian. And the joke in the family is that I somehow managed to have more camera time than my dad ever had as an actor. and that was the big family joke. It's like, how did that happen? And what Rob and Posey and I were talking about is how here we are getting ready for the game of New Year, and obviously a lot of challenges with COVID, and many times that we create, we get lucky, whatever the case may be. And I feel lucky now because I started a telemedicine platform, and I'm sure Dr. Geff knows that right now being able to offer telemedicine to a client or a patient is a way to beat COVID. And I got very fortunate, and I've been working on this for a number of years, as if I planned COVID. Don't get me wrong, I didn't, but man, it is a good thing when you're doing telemedicine to have something like a COVID to boost your telemedicine platform. And again, lucky. If I didn't have that goal in mind to create something that would ultimately help people and their pets, then I may not have had this platform. And so, I think that it's a sort of a lesson in life, really, to strive for what you like, strive for what you do. And when I think about how did I end up getting to this place where it was many challenges. And so what happened was, and anyone, when you graduate, when you have a passion and you attain a goal, you have a certain mindset of what you are going to be able to do with that new career, or that new goal, or that new challenge. And here I was, new, out of school, I guess maybe, looking through those rose-colored glasses. And I realized that in the medical world, there were public service announcements. This is going back into the late 70s, early 80s, about smoking, about self-breast examination, or some people that things people can do at home to diagnose problems. And they're all over the TV, all over the commercials. And I realized that I was getting these clients coming in with their pets that were 6-8 months old. And okay, doc, we're here ready to start our vaccines. Now, from my perspective, start your vaccines. By 8 months of old, you should be done with your vaccines. You should start it at 8 weeks. And I'm thinking, whose fault is this? And I realized it's our fault. It's the profession's fault. We weren't educating people to do the right thing. They had no idea. So I was at a conference, the American Veterinary Medical Association conference, and I went to the AVMA, these are the old establishment within the profession. I said, look, I'm a young vet. I'm in Los Angeles. I have celebrity clients. I have some producers. Why don't we come up with some public service announcement, a PSA, to educate pet parents, the people, about their pets? And I got a very condescending, "Sure, Sonny, we got it covered." I said, "Great. Look, if you need any help, I'd be happy to help. I can make some introductions." And it was like, they really could care less what I thought. So I waited and I waited and I waited for that PSA or a national commercial educating people about, it's time, you have a new puppy, a new kitten, it's time to get them into vaccines. You want to start vaccines at 8 weeks of age. And it never happened. So I said, you know what? That's what I realized about the establishment, the old establishment of medicine. They are backwards thinkers. They are not innovators, and which is pretty much the same in almost probably every profession. And it takes the new generation to get things moving. So I said, you know what? I'm going to write a video. What am I going to do with this video? I have no idea, but I'm going to write it anyway. And I worked on this video, I write this video, and I was pretty much 90% done. And all about pet care from the time a little puppy until the time it's time to say goodbye. Now what? I have no idea. I was a stupid kid. I was 32 years old at the time, maybe 31. Well, now what? So I'm in my office and this kid talks about creating your own luck. This kid comes in the office and his name was Randy Lappin. He's very big in the Jewish community now. And I said, Lappin. He said, it's funny, when I was a kid, my best friend's dad, his name was Al Kalis, and his partner was Al Lappin. Are you related to Al? He looks at me like, Al's my dad. I said, oh my God, your dad. So Al Lappin and Al Kalis, the two Als, had a little company you may have heard of. It was called International Industries. Maybe you didn't hear about it, but you've heard of International House of Pancakes, International House of Pies. Well, that was the Kalis and the Lappin, right? They sold for millions of dollars and multimillionaires. And I said, oh my God, that's so funny. You got to tell him. I told Al, Randy, how I knew his dad. I've known his dad for so long, since I was a kid. By the way, I said, what's he doing now? Here's the clincher. We produce educational videos. I said, oh my God, could the timing have been any better? You just threw this on my lap. So I said, that's so funny. I just wrote a video, education video. I have no idea what to do with it. And he goes, let me see it. So I sent it, I gave him the script. It was a good thick script. And he calls me 2 days later. He says, we're going to produce it. So that was my foray into media. We did the video. It got me a guest spot on a syndicated talk show to talk about pets. And I said to the guy, usually when an author goes onto a TV show, a talk show, right, to talk about their book, when is the next time they're invited to come back on? Never. Their next book, maybe. And I knew that was the fate, was a very short-lived fate. I said, I really don't want to talk about my videos. I said, I really like to educate people about their pets. I said, who's your co-host? Now, many of you may remember, may not remember, Dom DeLuise. Dom DeLuise was a comedian. He was extremely overweight. He used to joke about his weight all the time. And I said to this producer who wanted me to come on and talk about the videos, I said, I really want to talk about the videos, but you know what? I know Dom DeLuise is the co-host with Gary Collins. Can we do a segment like maybe something on obesity? Because it's, Dom Del always used to joke about his weight. Obesity is the #1 nutritional disease affecting our pets. And it kills them. It takes years off their life. So the producer said, oh, let me get back to you. So he gets back to me, Dom DeLuise. He asked him, we could talk about pets, obesity. And sure enough, yes. And it was the funniest segment. It was hysterical. So funny, in fact, that after the segment was over, the producer comes to me and says, that was great. Would you like to come on and do some more of these? And literally that's how the career started. From there, I went from this show to that show and in that world, a producer, what they call a segment producer, when a show is over, they don't die with the show. What do? They're segment producers. They go on to another show and become a segment producer. And sure enough, pets are getting bigger and bigger, and they're in the planning room and they're planning segments, and the subject of pets comes up and she says, oh, I used to work with a vet on my other show. Let's get a hold of him. And anyway, so did I create my own luck? Yeah, big time. And I became, in fact, interestingly, how I was hated by my colleagues. I was the one that was on TV, and they resented me like crazy. What they didn't realize is that I never spoke about my hospital. I never gave a phone number. All I did is my message was, see your veterinarian. Because most of the shows I was doing were national. So it didn't do me any good to promote me. I had no desire to promote me. I was trying to educate the masses, and I would say to the detractors, the jealous veterinarians, I said, how many patients can you see in a day, a month, a year, a lifetime? All right. I said, you realize I do one national TV spot and I can reach 1 million people in 3 minutes. Can you reach 1 million people in your practice lifetime? Not even a chance. So they started realizing the benefit to them by having someone out there promoting pet care and sending them to their vet. And after a while, it was more like being applauded than being hated. And that when I started working for CBS, I got to work with a lot of fun people. I was doing a segment, a group. I did a week on Good Morning America a couple of years ago, and I'm sitting there and I'm in the elevator with George Stephanopoulos, and mind you, his wife was a former client of mine. So I'm sitting in the elevator. I said, George, just so you know, I knew your wife way before you did. And he laughs. He goes, yes, you did. And then another great one. I'm sitting there, and it's great because one of my sister's favorite was one of the co-hosts. It's funny because you become like a regular person. You know what I mean? And what's his name? Michael. The ex NFL New York Jets, who's now Rabbi, you know who it is. He played all his career with the New York Giants. Not Mahan. Bennett,
Michael,
you know who it is.
Michael Strahan.
Strahan, right. So I'm sitting there talking to him, and I said to him, I said, you spent your whole career with the Giants. I said, did you have any, you realize, he was famous, right? He started to do with Regis, and he took over for Regis and Kelly and all that. I said, did you have any notion, talk about being in the right place, talking about just, who knows what Hashem's plan is for us. I said, did you have any idea when you quit playing football, when you retired, that you would be where you are today? And his line was precious. He goes, Doc, I was just praying I'd find a job. And look at him now. So, that's how I think, it's a good thing to approach life, is this, follow your path. I tell young kids this all the time. Yes, there are Balky Wiles out there, okay, where now she's a veterinarian. He worked with me when she was in high school. She used to volunteer. And you have Chaya Storch, okay? And Chaya also worked with me, went to EULA, wanted to be a veterinarian. Now she's a veterinarian. But when you think of the challenge, I actually have a license plate rim that reads, real doctors treat more than one species. And why is that? It's an inside joke for veterinarians, because if people hear doctor next to Dr. Werber, they go, oh, so what's your specialty? I go, I'm a veterinarian. Oh, so you're not a real doctor. Really? Ask an MD what it takes to get into vet school. Okay, they're the ones that appreciate veterinarians, and you get to learn one species. I have to learn 50 species, and all the nuances between them. What do you mean I'm not a real doctor? So it's a tough go. And when I lecture at my old high school, and I'm trying to get people to realize it's a great profession. I love it, but this is not Cracker Jack's degree. This is hard work, commitment. I don't know how many hours of experience are required from a medical school applicant to get into med school. And if anybody knows, chime in. In veterinary medicine, you need at least 1,000 hours of work experience before you can even apply. So they want to make sure, I guess it's kind of like converting, Rabbi, huh? You got to show commitment. You got to show that you, speaking of conversion, you heard that Amari Stoudemire, I sent that to you.
Yeah,
He's now learning in yeshiva in Israel.
That's incredible. I remember when he signed for the Knicks. It's incredible that now he signed for the Jewish people.
Exactly. He's a full-fledged, convert.
Yeah, so Jeff, in terms of, that's right, in terms of you need to show your commitment for Judaism, you have to show your commitment for a veterinarian, to be a veterinarian. But it's nice to hear from you, if I could chime in.
Sure.
How you've worked hard and you put in a lot of effort to create the opportunities. And also, I never knew that obesity, I never knew that pet obesity was such a big issue. But that's interesting to learn that. If you could share a little bit, since you asked before, have Jewish values, have you brought Jewish values to your profession? It's interesting that from the very beginning, you loved, you wanted to be a vet. Is it connected in some way at all to Judaism or Torah or Jewish values? Because it makes me think, Jeff, while you think about that, is that the Medrash says that Moshe Rabbeinu, right, that even after he stuck up for the Jew and he killed the Egyptian and he helped the shepherds, he helped the women who were being bullied by other shepherds. The Medrash says that when Moshe Rabbeinu's sheep, ran away, and Moshe Rabbeinu went and followed and caught up with the sheep, so God said, now I see that Moshe is so caring for animals, and he's so caring for his flock. I want Moshe to care for my flock. So you see, you have a precedent and a paradigm in Moshe in terms of the value that Judaism gives to caring for animals.
Totally. I mean, when you think about it, like, little nuances, we're not supposed to eat until our animals are fed.
That's right.
Tsar Balei Chaim, we can't have them suffer. I remember when Jill had to consider putting one of her dogs down, you and I spoke about euthanasia and the importance of not allowing an animal to suffer. And interestingly, as did, she also spoke, Jill's a Chabadnik, and she spoke to her rabbi who said the same thing, that it is permissible to end a life if the animal is suffering. And it is interesting. What is interesting, and maybe many can relate to this. So when I'm in vet school, and what I used to do, with the blessing of most of my residents, was that when I was on a rotation, I would go to my classmates on the same rotation and say, do me a favor, if you take my Friday night call, my Saturday morning, okay, I will take your Saturday night, your Sunday and Sunday night. So 3 for 2 switch. Of course, most of them said, hell yeah, that'll be great. And it was always cleared. My supervisors always allowed it. And they knew that I was not gonna, it's called soaping your records. I wasn't gonna soap my records on Friday night or Saturday morning, on Shabbos morning, but I would do it Saturday night, and I would take care of my classmate that helped me. I would do his or her cases as well as mine for 3 times. So I did 3 for 2. So it was an easy switch. Sadly, I was given angst by only 2 people going through veterinary school for doing this. And guess what their names were? There was a husband and wife, Alan and Nancy Kay, both Jewish.
Wow.
And I got through every other, and they all everybody respected. But how amazing is it that it was the Kays that gave me a hard time? And
that is very sad. But kol hakavod to you for being committed to Shabbat, and that is very, very sad. But you see from that, Jeff, also is that aside from the K's, but everyone else, they respected you because of your convictions, and that you had convictions and you had beliefs, and you followed that even though it was difficult, even though you did a 2 for 3 switch, so it wasn't to your advantage, and they respected that.
When I was in college, also my best friend in my fraternity was this and this. In my class, my pledge class, there were 3 Jews, and it was a not Jewish fraternity. At the time, there were no Jewish fraternities at Berkeley. They had started since with Abe High and the Sammys. Sammy was just restarting itself. Anyway, so this is the guy who made sure that when you get sworn in, there was a reference to not Jesus, but to the Holy Ghost or something, or the Father, whatever it was. And he stood up for us, the 3 of us, and took that out of the getting pledged. And because of me, the other 2 were not religious, but because of me, there were no house parties on Friday night. He stopped all the house parties on Friday night, and he made them all on Saturday night so I could go. It's interesting how people see us sometimes. Now, it is very funny. You're going to get a kick out of this. So mind you, clearly, he respected me to no end. We're very good friends to this day, and we're talking, 45 years. And he said to me, he was telling me when he bought a new car and he had to get a radio for his car. This is back in the day where there's a lot of theft. We were in Berkeley. So he got one of those things that slid out. You can lock it in the trunk. And you realize he got such a great deal. You know why? Because he Jewed the guy down to $100 and something. I go, what, Steve, what'd you just say? He goes, and as he says it again, he realizes, but that was it. Think about the environment where you're in, that wasn't, it was just an accepted expression to be negotiated. And he didn't mean it, negatively at all. He was one of my best friends and vice versa. And we still are to this day, but it's crazy. The same guy that stood up for me and not having this pledge swear, whatever it is, and not having the Shabbos parties, and yet he drew the guy down. I thought that was very funny. But I'm, the trouble with growing up in a secular world sometimes, depending on where it is, not everybody grows up in New York, in Los Angeles, in Chicago, where there's a huge Jewish population. And it's unfortunate that this is what we have to deal with as traditional Jews. And I think that what keeps us strong is having a community like a Beth Jacob, where we can relate so much that we know that we are never alone. We could be someplace where we feel alone, but we're really never alone.
That's very, very
I
nice.
realize having our Zoom minyanim is one way you really, it solidifies that feeling.
That's a really
I'm lucky enough now that I can go to Jacob's Garden, but back before we could even do that, I thought the Zoom was great. I know Rabbi Green, Ivor Geft, we're all Zoomers.
Really,
Bennett.
That's a really, Jeff, that's a really beautiful way to put it, because a shul is really all about relationships, and you're somebody who's a chevraman, and you love connecting with people, schmoozing with people, but it's about relationships, and we're so blessed to have a shul in which we have a relation with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, with Israel, but of course with other people, and you're a big part of that. And you bring that to what you do in the veterinary field.
Oh yeah, I mean, they know. So check this out. The veterinary profession is not the most Jewish profession. In fact, when I was applying and trying to get into vet school, a friend of my mom looks at my application. And first of all, I was Jeffrey Ira Werber. Secondly, I was very active in NCSY. As you know, I went to my second year of high school. I was at MTA. And he's looking at this. He's not a Jewish guy, by the way. And he looks at the application. This was my third rejection. And he's looking at my application and he says to my mom, no, he's not Jeffrey Ira Werber from Brooklyn, New York. He is Jeffrey I. Werber from New York, New York. And this NCSY never was NCSY. Leave out the year in Yeshiva University High School for Boys in Manhattan. He says, I know the mentality, the veterinary community well. I donate horses to UC Davis. These are good old boys. And these good old boys may not take so kindly to a Jew, right? Especially a religious Jew coming to school. So sure enough, I took all those things out. I did get into my fourth try. Now, I'm not saying that it was because of that, but it was interesting that, with that in mind. So anyway, go on. And the guy who had the highest GPA to ever graduate from UC Davis is a guy named Brett Kantrowitz. And obviously, Brett is a nice Jewish boy. And he, in fact, the valedictorian in my class, Tony Pardo, was a Sephardic Jew. This girl the second in the class was Lainey Cowan, okay, formerly, of course, Lainey Cohen, a Jew. I was eighth in the class, Jeff Werber, and I think number 10 was also Jewish. Of the 6 Jews in my class, all right, 4 of us were in the top 10, which is very interesting. And but anyway, a few years ago, every 5 years they have class reunions. My reunion was on Yom Kippur. It was another weekend that the Yom Kippur fell out on Shabbat. And I looking at this date, I was like, are you joking? I mean, who does that? Your superstar, Brett Kantrowitz, right, was Jewish, the highest GPA. He got 1 A- in a 1-unit elective. Otherwise, straight A's across the board, which in vet school is really hard to do. And yet you have a reunion on not just on the weekends, on Shabbat, that we deal with, but on Yom Kippur, it was unbelievable. So
Union for the break, with the break between Musaf and Mincha.
yeah, right. So you realize that people don't know how many establishments have Jewish calendars. Now, that's why I gave them hell for it, because I said, this is not, that you're not going to find, it's not like Sukkot, it's not like Shavuos, which is not going to make a regular calendar. Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur are in every single calendar.
Jeff, I want to ask you, you're absolutely right. So I want to ask you two things, totally different things that occurred to me. The first one is, and by the way, to all the participants, Jeff and I didn't talk about what questions I would ask him. But it's just, I'm really enjoying the conversation. And Jeff, of course, we've schmoozed about some of these things. What is something, just occurred to me, what's something that you feel that human beings can learn from animals?
Oh my God, tons. First of all, they say that they don't look at us and judge us by our what we do for them. All right, they love us no matter what. You can live with them in a shack. You can live with them in a palace, and they love you the same. They're very non-judgmental. There's a line, I wish I could get it. It was written by Senator Vest back in the 1800s. I think, I don't want to say the state, but because I'll look it up. But all I know is he was also a lawyer, and his dog, a neighbor accused his dog of escaping into the neighbor's yard and eating his chickens, and shot the dog, killed it. And the senator took the guy to court. He lost the case. He then went ahead and I'm just looking for this while I'm talking. He lost the case, and then he filed for an appeal, and he won the appeal. And what he wrote, that he had the jury literally in tears. And it was so magnificent. And he wrote this thing, and I have to, if I can find it, I will. It was just beautiful. But it was basically saying how it was a eulogy, a tribute to the dog, George Vest. Gentlemen of the jury, the best friend a man has in the world may turn against him and become his enemy. His son or daughter that he has reared in loving care may prove ungrateful. Those who are nearest and dearest to us, those whom we trust with our happiness and our good name, may become traitors to their faith. The money the man has, he may lose. It flies away from him, perhaps when he needs it the most. A man's reputation may be sacrificed in a moment of ill-considered action. The people who are prone to fall on their knees to do us honor when success is with us may be the first to throw the stone of malice when failure settles its crown upon our heads. The one absolutely unselfish friend the man can have in this selfish world, the one that never deserts him, the one that never proves ungrateful or treacherous, is his dog. A man's dog stands beside him in prosperity and in poverty, in health and in sickness. He will sleep on the cold ground where the wintry winds blow and the snow drives fiercely, if only he may be near his master's side. He will kiss the hand that has no food to offer. He will lick the wounds and sores that come in encounters with the roughness of the world. He guards the sleep of his pauper master as if he were a prince. When all other friends desert, he remains. When riches take wings and reputation falls to pieces, he is as constant in his love as the sun in its journey through the heavens.
Beautiful. Wow.
That's a dog.
Beautiful.
It's as if, and Ivor have talked about this, that who was given the zechut to name the animals. All right, it was Adam in the Garden of Eden. Hashem brought all the animals by him, and he was trying to capture their true essence in their name. For example, what is elephant? Peel. What is a pella? It's a nace. It's a wonderment. It's the biggest animal in the world, right? So what is dog? Dog is kelev. Chaf lamed bet. Change your vowels. Kol lev. All heart.
Beautiful.
And so
That's beautiful.
that's one thing we
It
learn.
says also
Also,
when you
what?
the pasuk says also, that's beautiful. When if you find something torn up in the field and you're not allowed to eat it, it says la kelev tashlichunoto. You should give it to the dog.
Right.
There's a beautiful explanation of the Dad Zikanim who says that when you come out to your field and you see an animal that's torn up, you might blame it on the watchdog. It's referring to the watchdog.
Right.
And you might blame it on him and you might put him in the doghouse. And so what the pasuk is saying is that he's been your trusted watchdog for so many years, and he's been your trusted pet who has loved you unconditionally. So if you find something torn up in the field, give him like Kelev,
Right.
give the Kelev, who's been your trusted pet, give him the meat.
It's true. You know, and also we have our senses. We talked about the sixth sense. We have 5. Dogs have so many more. Do you realize they're using dogs now? Well, first of all, for their sense of smell. We have a roughly 5 million olfactory receptors in our noses, right? Dogs have, you ready for this? 250 million.
Wow.
So it's amazing. They can, if you could take something like I was doing a segment on Rachel Ray once, and we were talking about dogs' sense of smell. And there was a fairy tale brownie that they give over the holidays. And I had one wrapped in a cellophane, and I gave it to Rachel. I said, Rachel, here, smell this. I said, what do you smell? And she smells it through the cellophane. She goes, nothing. I said, if you gave this to a dog, not only would the dog be able to smell it, if he could talk, he would rank the ingredients one by one in order. That's a dog's nose. They can pick up a scent and use that scent to diagnose cancer. They can find cancer faster than some other diagnostic methods in people. They're now using them to train them to see if they can detect COVID. That's how unreal they are.
Wow.
You know, it's interesting. When I would do my TV, I heard this the first time, and I thought the lady was nuts. Now I've heard it dozens of times. The TV can be on somewhere in the house, and the mom, the wife, is not there. The dog is with her, say, in the kitchen. All of a sudden, the dog will get up and run with purpose to the den or the living room, wherever the TV was on, with such like purpose that and direction that the owner followed the dog. What did he see? What did he hear? And I'm on TV doing a segment. They actually that's how sharp they are. They recognize the voice. And now I've heard this dozens of times. They sense things in us that are just unbelievable. They can read facial expressions. They can read when you're upset. They can read when you're happy. So I just find them absolutely amazing. We can learn a lot from them.
Wow. Jeff, this is incredible. And that's, it's amazing to hear about their ability to sense things in a way that human beings can't, and to kind of like respect that. Should we open it up to the group to see if anyone has any questions?
Certainly.
Hi, Jeff, it's Rabbi Posey. Dear Posey, how are you?
Hi, how are you?
Good. I wondered maybe if you could also talk a little bit about how some of the messages and the lessons you've talked about have also led to your role in Beth Jacob. I know you've been a past president, you've been involved literally for years and years. Maybe talk a little bit about history in terms of how some of these things translated into your lay leadership in the community.
I don't know if it was because of, I was certainly because of Beth Jacob. It was, I grew up in Beth Jacob. I've been there and going to shul. I mean, I can recall sitting up in the last row in the balcony, playing with my friends from Hillel, and all of a sudden the rabbi's speech would go silent. And I'm sure Bennett's smiling right now, listening. And all of a sudden you hear, Rabbi Dolgan, Werber. I mean, he would call us out. So
Big time.
I was very active in junior congregation. I just, I felt what I liked about it is because I was raised in obviously an Orthodox family, but my dad, because of being in Hollywood and being an actor, he had very, very few, if any, Orthodox friends, but of course a lot of Jewish friends. And our house was the Friday night Shabbos Mecca, because all of our friends knew, and all my parents' friends, every Friday night, our house was the gathering. They would come over after their respective dinners, after they went out. My friends would come over after they went out, went to whatever. And we were up till, 12, 1 in the morning. We had nosh, we had games going, they had cards going. We were doing puzzles. It was the house. And everybody stopped by it was crazy. And I realized that the beauty of acceptance of every Jew and of all the shuls, well, all the shuls, back then there weren't that many to choose from, but of the shuls, one thing I always appreciated about the philosophy of Bet Jacob is that we can be an Orthodox shul and we don't judge anybody. We don't look down on them. We accept them for who they are, what they are. And that resonate, it was sort of, was something that I always appreciated. And and that's, even when I came back from vet school, moved back to LA, there were obviously more choices. And I even in high school, NCSY was housed at Beth Jacob. So I did not, and truth be told, I did go to some of those other shuls, and it was not the experience that I remembered. And the only shul that has it, has always had it, and I believe always will have it, is Beth Jacob. And that's right. Now, can I link my choice of career? That would be a tough one. But certainly my fondness for the philosophy that we share, that has always been a part of me.
That's
Anybody
great,
else?
Jeff.
Am I the only one not on mute? I mean, yeah.
Have you seen changes in the way that and the issues that the media is looking to portray about veterinary medicine? Are there questions that are being asked now that weren't asked years ago?
No, we are certainly now, especially when many of the laboratories doing testing for COVID are veterinary reference labs. We have dealt with coronaviruses for years. I honestly think why I am possibly immune, I didn't test positive for my immunity. I tested negative for the virus, and but I don't get sick, and I've been around it a lot. And I think that there's got to be some cross reactivity with the coronaviruses that I've treated for years in veterinary medicine. I think that the medical community now starts to respect the work done by veterinarians for the benefit of human health as well as veterinary health and animal health. And interesting, one of my vet school classmates was very interested that we had a fifth year option in school that was called it was veterinary, it was preventive medicine. So you get certified, okay, as a certified veterinary preventive medicine. And so she did the fifth year, it was a master's. So MPVM, so master's of preventive veterinary medicine. And her interest was zoonotic diseases. These are diseases that animals get that can't transmit to people. A lot of tick-borne diseases are veterinary diseases that can affect people as well. So she started going to the conferences as a veterinarian for pediatric infectious disease conferences as a vet who is working with the animals that these kids are getting these diseases from. So if you can learn from me, I can better educate you guys on how to prevent these diseases in animals, which will then help prevent. All right. So it made total sense to everybody except the medical community. And the medical community really looked at her as a second-class citizen. Like, what do you know? And you're just a vet. So she could have taken this and said, you know what? To heck with you. I'm just going to do something else with my MPVM. So instead, she said, you know what? I really like this field. I like helping children. I love helping animals. So what did she do? What's the only thing she could do to prove herself to these somewhat arrogant medical doctors? Ivor, I'm sorry, is she went to med school. She finished med school in 2.5 years after being in vet school already. And she was a DVM, MPVM, MD, and chief of pediatric infectious diseases at UC San Francisco. So did she show them? Oh, yeah, she did. And she's world renowned. She works with the CDC now. She's everywhere. So I think that the medical community, I think now is starting to show a little bit more respect for the scientific attributes of the veterinarian and the veterinary community. Rabbi, does that answer your question?
Yes, that's great. Thank you so much. Are other people have questions they wanted to raise or comments or thoughts?
If they do, take yourself off of mute.
Yeah, you just take yourself off mute.
Jeff, it's Bennett.
Yes.
So talk to us about the most unusual animal that you've treated in your career.
Well, you know, I sort of ended up really just, you know, doing dog and cat. When I was working at the Berkeley Dog and Cat Hospital, when I was an undergrad, one of the docs was a doctor for the San Francisco Zoo treating the big cats. So we would have ocelots, leopards, cougars come into the office. And I'm a cat fanatic and I love big cats. I mean, if you look at my pictures from my last year when I went on safari in July, thanks to Dennis and Myra Monk, it was a phenomenal experience. But those were really cool. In practice, I've seen some snakes. I like snakes, by the way. Some weird lizards. I don't do birds, though I love birds. But birds, it's sort of like such a subspecialty. You really have to be good, and especially if you take your most expensive bird, or excuse me, your most expensive dog, it does not come close to what some of these birds cost. I mean, you're going to get some of these parrots. You're going to spend, $30,000. So it's and even more expensive are obviously the horses and bulls that are used to donate the semen for the dairy cows. They are syndicated for several $1 million. I mean, literally millions of dollars. So I'm very happy with my dogs and cats. Occasionally I'll get a bunny who'll come in, or a guinea pig, or a hamster. I took care of my own hamster. So it's less exciting, but for me it's a blast.
The most amount of pets he's had at one time.
Oh, Ruth has a question real quick. She wants to know how many pets,
The most amount of pets.
the most amount of pets you've ever had at one time.
12.
Wow.
And now I have
Wow.
10. At one point I had 5 dogs, 6 cats, and my hamster was alive.
Wow.
Now I'm down. The hamster's gone. Lived a long time for a little hamster, and as is one of the dogs. So we have 4 dogs and 6 cats now.
Great.
Very rarely am I bored here at home.
Thank you, Jeff. It's great.
Jeff, I just wanted to
Anybody else wanna know
recap.
anything boring, exciting, unusual?
Have you had any exciting birthing stories?
Oh yeah. Well, yes.
'Cause you're an obstetrician also.
Oh, yes. So many breeds, French Bulldogs notorious, need to have C-sections. And I was doing a C-section on a Frenchie, and she had 6 puppies. They all did great. And I was joking with the owner that I've always wanted a Frenchie. I said, we can do a barter. Maybe we can barter a C-section for a Frenchie. Frenchies, by the way, go for a lot of money. And he chuckled. He thought I was kidding. I said, I'm not kidding. He goes, well, they're all accounted for. And so I guess not. We can't do it. I get a call from them a couple of weeks later. Were you serious about the barter? I said, absolutely. Why? He says, one of our intended recipients had to back out. So we took this Frenchie. Now, mind you, these hands were the first human hands to touch this dog. Okay? And now he's mine. And when you think about it, that's pretty unique. How many of us, when you have pets, that you were the first hands to touch, even babies, even when you're, delivering your own. I don't know. You can't do that, right? So you can't deliver your own kid, but you can't deliver your own dog.
No, you can't. That's true.
That was pretty cool. That was actually really cool. We do have, and look, we've had dystocias, we've had problems. I've had many emergency C-section. We've had cases where a puppy would get, I do have a great story. Well, what am I thinking? Birthing story. I'm at the Sinai Temple Purim Carnival 20 years ago, and they had a petting zoo. And so what they would do is the company would go out in the morning, early morning, usually out in the Inland Empire, go to some local farms or ranches and collect animals that they could bring for the petting zoo. So as I'm there, the petting zoo, of course, my natural inclination is leave the kids to themselves, to their own trouble. I'm going to go look at the animals. And there's a goat there that really looks like she is ready to kid. So I go to the kid who's there, and I go, she does not look good. You should separate her you should put her back in the truck. She is not well. And she looks like she is ready to deliver like yesterday. So he takes her out of the little pen where all the kids playing, and he puts her in the back of the truck. And I am going back and forth to this truck to keep an eye on her. And all of a sudden I see now that she is bearing down, and part of her placenta is now out, hanging from her hind end, and she is in distress. So I'm looking at this poor goat, and what am I doing? I take off my jacket. Remember, this is March, right? Purim. And take my sleeve. I roll up my sleeve. I go in there into this goat, and sure enough, this baby is breech. So I can finally feel the back legs, and I start pulling, and now I can get my other hand, and I'm straightening out the front legs because her head was backwards, which is why she was having trouble. I push the head forward, so at least now I can get this out, and sure enough, out comes this kid goat. Now, by now, you think the carnival was empty inside because all the kids were hanging onto this truck, looking through the slats of the truck. And this is a miracle, right? So all of a sudden, mom is starting to clean up her baby, and the baby is very uncoordinated. They stand up right away. That's another thing humans should learn. Let's get this kid walking and get to work already. And so the goat is wobbly, starting, and mom is cleaning it up, and it's the amazing thing of birth. And then what happens? 10 minutes later, she's bearing down again.
Oh,
She had twins.
oh my.
And it was the most amazing thing that if I was not there, talk about divine intervention. If I was not there,
Yeah.
the first one and probably both would have been lost.
And the mother too.
And maybe the mother too. So how insane was that? So I helped deliver, being a veterinarian, knew what to do, knew how to do it, and 2 healthy kid goats. It was amazing. I tell that story. It was just, think about it. What are the odds that on a Purim carnival at a shul, you're going to have a veterinarian who steps in and rolls up a sleeve and puts his arm up there, and yeah, it's crazy. So I was actually pretty good at large animal medicine. Many of my clinicians and residents thought when they heard that I was going to be practicing small animal medicine in Beverly Hills, Los Angeles, California, they said, "Oh, Werber, come on, what a waste. You should be doing horses. You should be doing cows." I said, "No, thanks. I'm very happy with my dogs and cats." But yeah, that was a great experience. So,
Well, Jeff, I just want to recap it. First of all, by thanking you. It's always just amazing to hear the stories of the different members of Beth Jacob. It's really true. Beth Jacob's got talent. That's definitely the case. And again, just to recap about how the values that we present and promote as a community really run through many of the things that you talked about, and really, I think many of the different diverse members of our shul and of our community. And so we really thank you. Thank you for sharing your story and sharing the ideas and messages. It's been fascinating from start to finish. Happy to open it up for any other questions, but really just wanted to end with thanking you for doing such a wonderful job.
Jeff,
well, thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit more about the veterinary world, which is the
Yeah.
world that I love.
Jeff,
And,
you didn't mention your true claim to fame is that you related to people who come from so very far away, right?
yes, this is true.
The gifts in the world, but somehow or other, through some celestial connections, right? South Africa and Los Angeles, that we and Israel, that we're actually relatives.
Yes. Good old.
Said you know half the world and you're related to the other half.
Right. I do have a lot of family. That is big. We were fortunate enough to have my family's on the Katzenellenbogen side, which is Lebenica, my dad's mother. We go back to Rabbi Meir Katzenellenbogen in the 1500s in Padua. I'm related to Yom Tov Lippmann-Heller. I'm from that family. And then from the Yalkut Shimoni on the Schreiber side.
Wow.
So, and we go back to Frankfurt, Germany in the 1500s. So, yeah. And then, of course, my dad's first cousin is Ivor's cousin. And so that's very, very interesting. So the Zohars and living in Israel.
Jeff,
So,
you're a man of many connections.
yeah, it's true. It's a good thing. It's nice to have big family. Well, you know, some of my family from Woodmere.
Sure. Debbie and Michael.
Right.
Right? Michael and Debbie.
And David and Dossie.
And David and Dossie, that's right.
You know, for those of you who like are also grew up in Beth Jacob, if you remember way back before Rabbi Sugarman, there was an associate rabbi at Beth Jacob,
Rabbi Schreiber.
David Schreiber, Rabbi Schreiber. That's my cousin. His dad and my grandfather were brothers.
Wow.
Great, David and Dossie, great people.
Yep.
They sat in the very front row of Young Israel of Woodmere.
Right. You know the Alperts too. So
Sure. Zane, Charlie.
Zane and Malky and Michael and Debbie, they're all Schreibers. It's a big family.
So you have so many connections, and thank you so much, Jeff, for keeping us connected and bringing us together tonight and sharing your story and all those interesting perspectives.
Well, thanks for having me, and you should, everyone here, they wouldn't be here if they didn't know how lucky they were to be part of this community. So, I share that we are very fortunate to be part of it.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff. You were great. You were
Thank
fantastic.
you so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
That was
you.
fun.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.